Alright, I am back quicker than I thought I would be. I got a lot more track laid. The layout looks a little bit different. Um, first, what I did is what I did is over here. I changed this a lot. So originally, this was still here, but this track is new. This track is new. The switch is new. That's just a cheap, real fast mock up of like how I would want a bridge to go. I just cut a strip of cardboard real fast. So the way this works is this is the long haul arrival departure track. This is not the long haul, but this is the local arrival departure track. So now a local can come in, he can uncouple from his cars, pull up here to get out of the way, or he can pull over here and get out of the way. This allows me to have another switcher here. I can store a switcher here, have a switcher here. I can get the engine out of the way. You can also you can't have the hippos or anything long on this track, but you could store, at least for a local, an engine like that there, and it's out of the way. You can pull the cars off the local arrival departure track and use this siding up to about there and still be able to switch the classification yard through here. So I like it a lot better now. It looks better. You got 6 tracks going underneath the bridge, which kind of looks cool. You got the classification yard is done. Arrival departure. I got the little building there. I put in that track back there. I finished the final eastbound classification track, which is that one in the front. And then those 2 tracks are kind of the coal car. I was going to have a mini coal yard in Altoona, kind of like they had, but I figured it just makes sense to have empties. Let me turn that off. Okay, it's dying. So, yeah, I got to add a lot more power. Let me just turn that off. There's a lot of dead spots because I got to get a couple boosters, add more power. But for now, I just wanted to get the track done in the yard mainly, and I figured I'd run a train or two while I'm talking. I'm not going to show this for long because that light is flickering. It'll probably give you a headache. But there's a train on Horseshoe Curve. I don't have any of the steamers running right now because they just suck up too much power. But this is the westbound classification yard. All cars you see right now are on the west class. And then you got the 2 arrival departure tracks, double track main, 2 arrival departure tracks for eastbound, 4 track eastbound classification yard. And then you got 1 track for empty coal cars. And as soon as that's filled, you take it up to the South Fork coal mine. And the track in the back, I don't think I'll have the whole thing loaded with coal. Maybe just for looks. I'm not really sure yet. At least some of the coal cars will go there. It's because they'll go to the power plants. I'm going to have, or a power plant. I'm going to probably have another power plant there just because, or some kind of building similar, because I really like the look of having those brick buildings behind there. That's going to be the yard office. It's not going there. I just had it there so that it's out of the way. I also, at this end, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other end. This is the eastbound local arrival departure track. This connects directly to the yard, which is going to be fairly sharp curve, but it's not a big deal since I'll just be running diesels and really short steamers through there. Here's a shot of the ABA consist rolling through the yard. I think that looks pretty cool to me to see that come right in front of those brick buildings right down the center of the yard. I also have this arrival departure track in the local to tie into that switch, and I got to drill a hole for a tortoise back there, and that'll connect to the main line over there. Then along here, where I put all the coal loads for now, this is going to be the steam engine facilities right along here. The turntable will be over here more than the roundhouse over there. This is just a storage spot for all my track and junk and everything right now. This double slip switch is going to stay here, or I just put this in, I should say. So you can go from the main line and then you can go to the yard. You can use a double slip switch, and you can, if you go on this track, it goes down to the front along the runaround, which might be for the passenger train. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'd like to maybe build a little extension that I can pull out, and that maybe I have the station here in the front. Or I'm still thinking about putting the station where that is right there. I mean, it's kind of in the way of the crossover and the yard and everything, but I don't really care. The station would kind of just be for looks. And I had to turn off the train because that one's not running. But yeah, the passenger station might be along there, and I'll use it, but you're kind of blocking the classification yard and the crossover. But you'll sit there for all, if you're in the way, you sit there for 10 seconds and you go on your way. It's not a big deal. So the yard is almost completely done. I'm really happy with the way it looks. I also got the upper level. I took out one curved turnout because I was just causing too many problems. And that back wall, there's going to be 3 tracks. The one along the wall will be for Crescent, for a little local. It's just some kind of switching thing. Staging will actually be the middle track. It'll be kind of in the way, kind of in the middle. But it's really just to have a train come in and then somebody runs it, a couple minutes later. It's not really going to sit there very long. And if nothing else, it looks like a mini yard. And then to go back to the double slip switch, if you go to Hollidaysburg, so Hollidaysburg is westbound. Westbound is that way, but on my layout, I don't have room to put Hollidaysburg westbound. So it will leave, the Hollidaysburg local will leave the westbound classification yard, actually technically head east. You'll use the double slip switch, and it'll attach into this track. It'll just sneak out and around behind the roundhouse, and it will head over to Hollidaysburg. And Hollidaysburg it's too dark to show right now, but a double slip switch works really well right there. The yard's looking good. I really, really like this end of the yard because this is where I'll probably sit the most to operate everything. So you can store a couple switchers in here. I can have 2 or 3 switchers working. And then back there'll be a switch that goes behind the buildings to the Altoona shops, or the Altoona Works, the shops buildings, but they're kind of like the diesel engine storage. I'll just kind of sneak them into the building. I don't really have much room for a diesel fueling facility, so it'll kind of be there because it's a transition era, but it's more focused on steam. So the steam engine facilities will be nice. Diesel, not quite as much, but they really don't need as much space anyways for the most part. And then this building will be the same as it was the first time I built this yard, where there's a siding in the front where I got that chassis system gondola. That's like one of the first cars I ever got when I was a little kid. That siding, it'll have some kind of car there. I'll have some kind of loading or unloading thing. And then one track goes into the building, and that'll probably be like steel pipes. And I don't see a gondola with the load right now, but it'll just be another little switching thing. And then I've done the math, and between the coal mine and the 2 coal tracks there, along with all the other areas that coal has to be delivered to, the layout can support a good 70, 75 coal cars. And that's if everything is in sidings and nothing is on the main line or in staging. So that'll be cool. Have tons and tons of coal cars. But I got stuff done quicker than I anticipated. I worked on it 6 or 7 hours yesterday, Friday, and well, by the time you watch this video, I'll probably be getting that end finished and tied in to where I can now run trains westbound and eastbound and actually be able to leave eastbound and not have to pull them out onto the main and do a runaround. I'll be able to run the yard like normal. And next project, really just wiring and getting another booster. Oh, and working more on Hollidaysburg, and I'd like to get that upper level more done on that too. And definitely more plaster cloth. I want to start working on the tunnel there and some of the mountains. But that's kind of all I have for today. But I mean, I did get a pretty good amount done. I got, like I said, this end of the yard done, 3 more tracks added there. I got that end of the yard a little bit more done. I still have more work to do, but yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.